You are listening to the Knightline Sports Network, brought to you by Travis Dever and the Dever team, 386-690-1636.
Knightline is brought to you by the Dever team, your source for New Smyrna Beach real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Go to www.thedeverteam.com and call UCF alumni Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach needs. 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636.
Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming to you from the 1148 studios, and this is Knightline 264 from the award-winning Knightline Sports Network. Joining me, as always,
Roger Phipps, and on this week's show, anchors blew us away, pirates on deck, your questions in Ask Knightline, Kyle joins us inside the huddle, the Tijuana Flats hot take of the week, and news and notes.
Alrighty. Well, not exactly the way that we wanted to come away from that game at Navy. I was trying to be smart there in Annapolis, Maryland, I guess it is.
It is in Annapolis. You're
30-34 loss to the Navy midshipmen, which, is what it is. I said earlier today on the radio show that we had one coming to us. We'd played Navy a few times. We had never lost to them. They hadn't got their stuff together. They finally got their stuff together, and that is exactly what it looks like when they get their stuff together, is what happened to us. They wear you out, and it's over. They did a very good job of it. They had not been playing to their standard, obviously, this far into the season, I guess, but they have now. So that's what it looks like when Navy, breaks you down and beats you. It is what it is. We go on to next week. Obviously, we're going to talk about it a lot on this show, but we're going to start with Ask Knightline. Ask a Knightline is brought to you by Chad Barr Law. Chad is a UCF alumnus and diehard Knights fan. Chad Barr Law handles auto accident, slip and fall, and personal injury cases. Call Chad today at 407-599-9036 for a free consultation. That's 407-599-9036. Armor up and call Chad Barr Law today. All right, Ask Knightline, where we're answering your questions that you send to us via Twitter with hashtag AskKnightline. Got a couple questions today, which is good. Always good to get some questions. Never good when we don't get questions. Very rarely does it happen, though, unless I forget to put the...
I was going to say that pretty much the only time is when you forget to post it.
That's usually what happens, yes. So let me try to get to those. I did not put them on the paper this week. I am just trying to get them off of my phone, and I am not prepared, as always. So, okay. Tony Cummings is our first one, and it's not showing me. Yeah, Tony, it's UCF 365. I think he changed his thing. It used to be something else. Anyway, at
Tony
UCF,
C.
yeah, Tony C. That's what it was. Your thoughts on the T-Will defense, decision scheme, player decisions to play. My perspective is he is playing too much prevent with the DBs. He needs to start ASAP or play more TMB. Trayvon Morris-Brash. Anthony M. needs to move back to defensive tackle. Salazar needs more playing time. Okay. Well, as we talked about it with Kyle, and you'll hear this later, you can't really base anything about your defense when you play Navy. It's just one of those things. Navy does what they do. No other team except for Army. There maybe there's one in the FCS, I don't know, but not very many teams. 2 that I know of in college football use this offense. There used to be 3. One with Georgia Tech used to do it a little bit for a couple of years. But nobody does what they do. They run it at you. They play ball control offense, and they just run you to death, literally to death. Not to death, but you know what I'm saying. It's just not what we're used to seeing, what any defense is used to seeing. When it works really well. It worked for Navy yesterday. It worked. So I don't think it's about scheme. You know, I saw this online. For the last, 24 hours, everybody, why did you play this defense? Why did they play that defense? And I don't think it's about scheme or anything else when it comes to this. So we got beat by Navy. I think that our defense stopping the run and all that stuff will be back next week. I just don't think they were able to do it this week. And I think a lot of it is because this staff has never faced Navy before. They didn't come from teams that played Navy. Navy doesn't. I don't think Gus has ever played Navy in his career. So this is new to all these guys. So I just think it was college football. College football, you never know what's going to happen. As you could see if you watched a bunch of football yesterday, a bunch of teams got beat that were in the top 25. They didn't see that coming, I don't think. Well, we didn't really see this coming. We had a freshman quarterback. We had all this other stuff that happened to make this loss happen. So it happened, and we move on. So I don't think that it had anything to do with scheme and all that stuff, personally. Yes, Trayvon Morris-Brash definitely needs to play more, but he's been in trouble with the law. That's one of the things. He got pulled over on a DUI, and who knows what's happening with that. Obviously, he's back playing a little bit, but we don't know for how long. And I'm not sure. Montalvo, what was he playing, linebacker or something? Roger, was he not playing on the defensive line? Or was he?
No, he was playing defensive line.
He wasn't playing defensive tackle, I guess.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so, I have faith that they're putting the best guys in the best positions that they think they belong in. They're football coaches. I'm not. I analyze football. I talk about it. I played it back in the day. But I have faith in our coaches. And I know a lot of people, for some reason, think that they are better football coaches than the guys that are getting paid millions of dollars to do this. That's insane. I put on Twitter earlier today, I can't wait to see on Monday how many of you actually get football coaching jobs, because you know it all. Everybody knows it all. So I can't wait. I can't wait to see how many people are on college coaching staffs after this week.
Okay. So, Tony, you have asked your traditional 7-question question. So
he has another one. There's another one.
Oh boy! So
yeah,
we're gonna hit 14. Yeah. It's not a bad thing, man.
No, it's awesome. I love it. Great questions.
So,
I'm not ripping on him by going on a little tirade there. I'm not at all ripping on you, Tony. I'm just like, people need to relax and settle down a little bit.
Well, the way I look at it is this. You bring up a lot of questions. To Andrew's point, Navy is always going to be tough to defend. I don't think any of the players, except for one, has ever played against Navy, except maybe a few of the offensive linemen up front. That's it. All the players that are playing against Navy in this game, it's their first time playing against them in a game environment. You saw Bryson Armstrong. He had a heck of a game, and guess what? At Kennesaw State, guess what they ran? So he saw that every practice for 4 straight years, and he knew exactly what he was doing, and he had a great game. I think he had something like 22, 23 tackles or something like that, and 10 tackles, 10 solo tackles. So He had a phenomenal game. That's because he knew the offense. The rest of the guys, what Navy is trying to do is they're trying to use multiple or similar looks with multiple variations of that look to confuse the defense, or multiple options, right? To confuse the defense in order to create a one-on-one situation based on what the defense is giving them. So what did they do? They did exactly that. They were looking for matchups that were skill players versus defensive players that were favorable to the skill players. And you saw that with Big Cat Bryant several times on the outside. You saw it on the other side. And when we were, crowding the line or bringing the DBs up, what did they do? They went through the middle, right? Or the linebackers were shifted to one side. Guess what they did? They went through the middle, right? And once Navy's, when they go up the middle, if you'll notice, the quarterback is always, getting the ball directly from, he's right behind the center. And as soon as he snaps the ball, he's either handing it off or he's going forward. And that doesn't give your defensive line enough time to react to the blocks based on the blocking scheme. But that quarterback knows exactly, or that running back knows exactly where they're going. And as soon as they break through that first line of defense, if the linebackers are shifted or somewhere else, there's nobody else really to get them until the safety comes up. So knowing this is a run-heavy offense to begin with, you've already got more defensive players up on the line anyway. So it doesn't give you a lot of room to stop plays for long gains once they get past that initial line. So again, it's a strategy. I think it was more that Navy executed their offense more potently than our defense was able to defend it, because they got those one-on-one situations, and unfortunately we just weren't up to the task.
Yeah. Well, that's a good way to explain it right there. Yeah. All right. Tony's next question is, what is our new record prediction now? Well, it's not undefeated, boy. I can tell you that. It has 2 losses.
That one's out the window.
Yeah, it has 2 losses in it. I don't know what I said at the beginning, but obviously we've lost 2 games. I hope we don't lose any more. We've got some big ones coming up. We're into the conference schedule now. This was our first conference game. But none of us predicted that Dylan Gabriel would go out in the 3rd game of the season. And all that stuff. Nobody predicted that. Well, I predicted that Bowser would be that good, but I didn't predict that he would get injured and not be available at this point. So, obviously things have changed a little bit. We're not quite where we thought we were with a lot of people being injured. And that's part of football. This happens. Not every year are you going to... We've been really lucky. Except for Mackenzie Milton in the last couple of years. And a couple other things. Trey Nixon last year was banged up a little bit. So all these things take time. And with a new coaching staff, not knowing really what you have in the first place and trying to figure that out in the first 3 games, I think we got off pretty easy, actually. So hopefully we can get things going. Mikey Keene, I think, did a great job. Some of the other guys, what's his name there? Johnny Richardson did a very good job, I think, at running back. He's just a completely different running back than Bowser is. So hopefully we will get Bowser back. I don't know about getting Dylan Gabriel back. I honestly don't think that that's going to happen this season. So we're stuck with Mikey Keene, and I hope that Mikey Keene can really pull this thing together. He did a great job, I think, the other day to do that. So I don't know. I hope that we can get through the rest of the season with maybe 1 more loss. Personally, Cincinnati's going to be really rough. Cincinnati is really, really good. They are an exceptional football team. A football team that does not happen very often is what they are, especially in the group of 5, whatever you want to call it. They are special. I hope that somehow we can change that. But it's gonna be rough. It'll be a heck of a game, though. I think that we will go in there and play really tough against them. Anyway, Roger, do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, I think to your point, they're a top 5 football team right now, right? And they just beat Notre Dame,
they could
which
be more
I
than
think
that.
was. I think
At home.
Notre Dame is overrated, but kudos to Cincinnati. That being said, looking at our schedule, I had said in my hot take that I thought we would win 3 out of the next 4 with Mikey Keene. Obviously, with the Navy loss, that makes me question it. We have 2 losses right now. I could see at least 2 more. So if I'm going to readjust my assessment, I'm going to say 4 losses for the season, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I'll say 3 just to be nice. All right.
To be optimistic.
To be optimistic, which I rarely am. John Swift, our good friend, is cover 4 of the right defense to run the Navy against Navy. John Swift, UCF. John. Yeah, no. I mean, I don't know what scheme is the right scheme to run against them. I think that was just their set scheme that they went out in. All schemes break down, I think, against Navy when they do what they do. I mean, I don't think you create a special defense just to play Navy. Maybe they do after this. Maybe T. Will comes up with something special, because I think that this is going to haunt him. But whatever set that they were in, to start or whatever, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you don't play if you play a goal line set against them the entire time, do they start throwing? I mean, they can. They definitely can. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you do, to be honest with you. I'm not a football coach, like I said. I don't know what I would have done. I mean, like I said, it could be easy and go out there and play a goal line the entire time until they throw, and then you're going to get, just walloped with that. So I don't know. They pay these guys a lot more than they do me. I can tell you that to do this job. Obviously, I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
I don't even know how to answer.
Well, let's talk about this for a second. What does the cover 4 do for you? Right now, I'm not going to go into an in-depth analysis of what a cover 4 defense does, but generally speaking, you're dropping people back into certain zones that they're responsible for covering. And if you look at the zones that the cover 4 covers, right, you've got your receivers have a DB on each one of them. Then you've got a linebacker that typically goes to the left. And then you've got an end or someone that heads towards the right. So if you've got a defense or an offense who's going to try to get to the edges, which they did successfully, you've got at least one body that's heading out to the edges immediately after the ball is snapped, right? And that gives them more time to react to wherever the ball carrier is going to end up and whoever he ends up being. Now, that means that, you've still got a safety or a couple of safeties that go out on the high just in case they pass, or also, since they're going to the edges, to crash down onto the edge as backup for that person that's going out into the zone, which is essentially in the flat, right? Now, by and large, is that the right move against Navy? I can't speak to that. What I would say, it takes your middle linebacker out of position for the inside run game, right? But what it does do is I would probably do more of like a cover 3 or something like that. But again, I don't get paid for that. I think the intent was to motion and get people in motion to go into the flats, because they're going to bring extra blockers to whatever side that they're coming around onto the edge. And if you have that person there, you have a defensive back that can come free and try to crash down. And you've also got safeties that can crash down. I think that's what they were trying to achieve. But that's just, my spin on it, my take on it. So does it make sense if you're trying to protect the edges and you don't trust the edges? Yes. It also allowed you to overload on one side, which we saw lots of times where, we were overloading on one side, and then they would pitch or do something else to the other side, and then you'd end up with someone like Big Cat one-on-one against the skill player. So I'm guessing that's what the theory is, but there's no way for me to really say that. I think if it were me, I'd probably be as aggressive as I can with that front line and have as many people on that front line as I'm comfortable with. They had, if you can stop their drives, they're only going to take so many shots down the field. They were 50% with the 4 passes that they had, and their receivers were dropping. So I probably would have gambled with having more people or having as many people up front and crashing down as possible. But that's my best guess on what the theory was behind that.
Okay. I think John was being a little tongue-in-cheek, by the way. Because he knows.
I thought he was actually asking that.
Well, I mean, he knows that that's not the right defense, but John's a smart football guy. So I think he was messing around a little bit. Okay, Brian W. Peterson, at Brian W. Peterson. Why do we keep swapping in Gatewood when the defense must know he's just going to run the ball? Seems like very low success rate for UCF, and normally just a loss of down or a small gain kills offensive momentum and gives the D a chance to swap out personnel. What am I missing? Roger, I'm just going to let you take this one. I'll say something at the end. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm guessing, and again, I'm guessing because I'm not Coach Malzahn. Gatewood can, the few times I've seen him throw the ball, he's been able to throw the ball. I'm guessing he's either trying to give Mikey a break, so Mikey can, he can call him to the side and show him what the defenses are doing and helping him do that. He may also, we were successful with the running game, and he's the extra big body that we need to do that. Would I like to see him pass more so that at least there's the threat of a pass? Yes. I just don't know how well he knows the offense yet because he got here so late. You got to remember, guys, he transferred here relatively late. He was at Auburn for a year, but again, he was at Kentucky after that, and it's been a while. So that may be more about Gus's, wanting to get Mikey off the field so he can set up his next series of plays or tell him what to look for on defensive keys or whatever. And it may be a way to get Gatewood on the field and get him some playing time when he doesn't know the offense as well.
Alrighty. Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. And, you got to try what you can try, especially against Navy. You just got to do it. I mean, maybe there were some times where it wasn't, perfect to send Gatewood in to do what he's going to do, but it can be confusing. Who knows what was going on there? I wish I said this when we were talking to Kyle. I said this on the radio show earlier, especially late in the game in that one that was kind of weird when Mikey Keene was kind of on a roll. I would have loved to seen our sideline. I would have loved to seen where Keene was Gus Malzahn in his ear at that point. Did he want him to come off the field so he could see something that they were doing that he thought that they could capitalize on? If it was a situation like that, we've said this for years, that we wanted to be able to spell a quarterback and to bring them out and let them stand on the sideline for a couple plays and see. So now we have that opportunity with this guy. Yeah, he's going to run it most of the time, but obviously we need to make him throw it a few times so they don't, it doesn't look like that all the time. So maybe we'll see him work Gatewood in a little bit better. I think he's just trying to get him in there a little bit, to give him some playing time, to build his confidence up and all that stuff. So I think that you'll see him be used a little bit differently in the future. So hopefully. And by the way, you guys, Tony and John and Brian Peterson, all y'all are getting some Tijuana Flats cash, by the way, in the mail. So I sent you Twitter messages, private messages, and you give me an address, and I'll send that stuff out to you. It's just like cash. You have $10 little cards here, and you take it into Tijuana Flats, and you use it just like cash. So thank you for sending in questions, and some of the rest of you, if you send in questions for us next week, we'll get some Tijuana Flats cash as well. So that's incentive. All right, that does it for Ask Knightline. Thank you very much for your questions. Really appreciate it. All right, Roger. Let's hear what Gus had to say about this game in his opening statement. It was not a very good press conference. Obviously, nobody was happy after this game, so here's Gus talking about it.
First of all, give Navy credit. They did the things that it took to win. We did the things that really hurt us and had a lot to do with us losing. We had some momentum. We had the punt block for a touchdown. I mean, that was a tough deal right there. We had fourth quarter. We had a short punt after a 3 and out. They had the ball for 40 minutes. We had the ball for 20 minutes. They hurt us on the perimeter. We didn't really have an answer on the perimeter. Offensively, we had trouble running the football in the second half. They were playing with 6 defensive backs. They brought corner cat a few times, and we had the third down and 7+, and we weren't very good. 2 for 9 on third down. One of the positives, I thought Mikey did a really good job in his first start on the road. He's got a chance to be a really good player. But bottom line is, we didn't get it done. We didn't get it done from a coach's standpoint, and we've got to get better. And then that's the bottom line. It doesn't matter who we don't have or who's out and all that. I mean, we've got to figure out a way to get better. We'll do that, and we've got to turn the page for next week.
All right. Well, you heard it from him. It doesn't matter who we have or who we don't. Just got to get better. So I think some of that does matter of who we have and who we don't, though. I think the biggest against Navy, I don't even know if it was Dylan Gabriel that we missed the most. I honestly think that it was Bowser that we missed the most in this one. What do you think, Roger?
To me, I think in this one,
I mean, both of those guys obviously, are.
No, but that's hard because I do think, when I'm watching, I will say Dylan Gabriel, and here's why I'll say Dylan Gabriel. Johnny Richardson was able to put in, I think it was like 5-point-some yards per carry, right? So to me, I think with Dylan's expertise at running the offense, I keep pointing to this. There were times when there were, if Mikey would have just tucked the ball and run, he could easily pick up 8, 9, 10 yards. And that's another dynamic that the defense, especially with 6 DBs, they're not going to be able to get there fast enough the way that they were playing their scheme to stop him from picking up chunk yardage when they're blitzing, or trying to stop the run. So to me, I think I think it would be the captain of the ship that I would want back behind there. I think we could have won with the running back stable that we had back there. I just think that we had too many 3 and outs, or not 3 and outs, lack of third down conversions.
That's 3 and out.
Yes, but 3 and out, what means that you do it on the first opportunity, right? We were moving the ball in the series, and then we'd get to a third down and not make it. So that's why I corrected myself. But at the end of the day, I think with Dylan at the helm, I think he would have seen some things. He could have, and again, I don't know how efficient Mikey was at the calls at the line, but he seemed to know what he was doing and checking and doing all those other things. But if Dylan, recognizes the defenses and has more experience in doing that, I think that creates a few more opportunities for us.
Yeah. Well, I think Bowser would have run for more than 63 yards personally. And I don't know. That's just my opinion. Mikey Keene did a pretty good job, though. I think 16 of 26, the 1 interception, 178 yards, 2 touchdowns, his longest being 34. Also ran 1 time for 3 yards. So I think he did a fairly good job. Let's hear what Brandon Johnson actually was talking about Mikey Keene and as a captain as well on the team. Let's hear what he has to say.
So impressed, man. And he's so young, but he showed so much poise, especially in his first game coming out. And we're all proud of him, man, and Coach is proud of him, and I can't wait to see what he does in the future. It's just the reps we get in practice, man. And he's been doing great from the start, He gets reps with everybody. So, I mean, it's not like we had to, form this new connection. Like, Mikey has a connection with everybody already. So it wasn't too difficult to kind of pick up, where we left off.
All right. I think you're going to see Mikey Keene really turn it on here in the next couple of weeks. That was a very, very difficult environment to go into and play your very first college football game. Extremely young guy, by the way. He left high school early to come here in January. And I don't know if a lot of people really know that. But I think he handled himself very well out there for the first time. So here also is what Gus had to say about them, the quarterbacks.
I told Mikey I'm proud of him, and the rest of his teammates did the same thing. I mean, you're making your first start on the road in this environment. He's a really good quarterback. He'll grow. He'll learn. I thought overall he managed the game pretty well, and he fought his guts out. So I thought Joey did some good things when he came in, too.
Okay. Well, there you hear it from Coach Malzahn on that. The other thing that Coach Malzahn was asked was about missing Bowser, and here's what he had to say about that.
He's an NFL running back. I mean, we don't have him, but like I said, it doesn't matter. The guys we had, we got to get it done. And we got some real quality running backs, and we kind of did it by committee. And I thought Johnny made some real explosive runs, and the other guys I thought did a solid job. But that's the good thing is they're getting experience, and we'll continue to grow. All
righty. Well, the running back by committee thing, I don't like it. I never have. I just want to see one guy get the majority of the carries. Johnny Richardson did. He had, what was it, like 20 carries or something like that? Or was it 12? I can't remember what it was. I got to get this pulled up in front of me. No, it was only 11. So, yeah, he had 11 carries. So that was the majority. Trillion Coles got 7 carries. Joey Gatewood had 4 carries. Joey Gatewood was averaging 5 yards, by the way. Johnny Richardson was averaging 5.4. His longest run was 13. Joey Gatewood's longest run was 10. So 4 carries for 20 yards for Joey Gatewood, 7 carries for 24 yards for Trillion Coles. Amari Johnson scored a rushing touchdown. He had 3 carries for 22 yards. Ryan O'Keefe had 2 for 14. And Orbowski, believe it or not, Orbowski had 1 carry for 13 yards. I thought he did a great job, by the way, with that run on that fake field goal. I wasn't sure if he was I thought he was going to make it at one point, but that pesky guy, Fagot, Diego Fagot is his name.
I'm glad you were careful with that.
That's not what I was calling him during the game. No, I wouldn't call him that. But anyway, he's a serviceman. I am glad that he's a senior this year and hopefully will not be back with the Navy football team. I will be more than proud to have him out there serving our country as a soldier, though, because that guy's got a heck of a motor. So I'm excited to know what he will do for our armed services in the future. I would not doubt that guy might be like a Navy SEAL or something because he's that kind of guy. Played extremely, extremely well. And I remember last year, in the last couple of years, I think that he's been a problem as well out there. So he had 11 tackles, sorry. Then he had the forced fumble for Brandon Johnson as well. He was the guy that poked that one out of there. Couple tackle for losses. He was definitely their defensive superstar. Our defensive superstar, Bryson Armstrong. 22 total tackles. 10 solo, 12 assists. That is just a few away from a UCF record.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah, Yeah. I mean, Bryson Armstrong in this game, one, like I said earlier, you can tell that he knows this offense, right? He played against it. His former team at Kennesaw State played this offense, and he was just in the right place at the right time every single time. Every time you showed a replay on a play, Bryson Armstrong's either involved in the tackle or he's right there because he knew exactly where the ball carrier was going to go. So, he was super impressive. I know we've all been giving him a little bit of a hard time in his coverage skills, but this wasn't about coverage skills this week. This was about being able to defend a triple option attack. And he did a phenomenal job. I think he earned his stripes, so to speak. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough this week, but it wasn't for his lack of effort and performance. So hats off to him this week.
Here's from the game notes after the game. Bryson Armstrong recorded a career-high 22 tackles, which were second most in a single game in UCF history, ranking third in the record books behind Bill Giovanetti and Tito Rodriguez, who each totaled 23 in 79 and 2001, respectively. So, big deal. Josh Salazar also had a sack, I guess. Did he have a sack? If these notes, some of these notes are not right from UCF this week, so I kind of question that. Did he have a sack? I don't know if I saw that.
Give me 1 second. He had 4. Yes, he had 4 tackles, 2 solo, 1 sack.
Okay, so he did. Yeah. Okay. Right.
He was the only one who recorded a sack.
Yeah, he was. And what else did that say there? It said something else. Trying to flip between all these different things. Recorded his UCF's second sack of the season, 4th of his career. Cam Good forced 2 fumbles in the game. First 2 of his career, matching the UCF single-game record with 12 other nights. The last night to force 2 fumbles in a game was Earl Clark in November 12th of 2016. So that's interesting.
That's a while ago.
Also the first time this season that the defense forced multiple turnovers, which was good. Anthony Maltavo and Quadric Bullard were the guys that recovered the fumbles. The second in the career of Montavo and the first for Bullard.
Nice.
So, yeah, good. Knights were without regular starters, defensive tackle Ricky Barber, linebacker Tatum Bethune, and cornerback Corey Thornton due to injury. So those were the 3 guys that were missing. 3 important guys, especially Bethune, in my opinion. So,
yeah.
I think that was probably the biggest guy that we were losing there.
Yeah, because Thornton really wouldn't have been needed much against Navy.
No, yeah. Ricky Barber obviously would have been nice to have him, but I think Tatum Bethune was the guy that we were really missing on the defensive side because he's a machine.
Well, I mean, Gilliard did pretty well too, though.
He did.
I think he had 10 tackles, 11 tackles, 3 solo.
Yeah. So, yeah, he totally did good. So, yep. All right, I'm not going to play any more clips. I just don't feel like it. The other ones weren't that great. I will play this one. Brandon Johnson, we talked about him a little bit earlier, and I like the reply that he had to being asked about the fumble. It's hard to go into a press conference and somebody ask you, and I'm glad they ask, but it's hard to be able to answer that question. How did you feel about the fumble? I can't remember exactly what the question was because you couldn't really hear.
I felt great about the fumble. Yeah, I was really happy.
With what UCF sent out, you couldn't really hear the questions. They were so far down because they had that microphone on the podium. So this is what Brandon Johnson said about the fumble, and I think this was a stand-up way to do it.
Personally, I just got to keep my head up, man, and I take full responsibility for that play. I mean, that's all on me. I mean, they made a good play on the ball, but at the end of the day, I mean, I got to hold on to it. So I take full responsibility for that. And personally, I look forward to just hitting the practice field, man, and making the corrections and growing from this moment. But I'm going to keep my head up regardless.
All right. Well, that's the way to answer it. When you're asked a difficult question about a mistake that you made, I think that's the perfect way to answer it, personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, there's not much you can do at that point. And quite frankly, it was a heads-up play by the Navy folks. I mean, he was falling towards the ground. And you know, when you're talking about catching a ball and starting to fall to the ground, that's a play in seconds, and that Navy player stuck his hand in there and punched it out. So, it's going to happen. And unfortunately, it just happened in a game where we couldn't afford a lot of mistakes because we didn't have a lot of possessions. So, one of the things about Navy, and I've said it and I'll say it again, they are going to limit your possessions. And because they limit your possessions, if you're going to win, right, then you can't make mistakes because they're going to use every single one of their downs. You're already at a disadvantage when you play Navy you're going to have one less or a quarter less snaps of the ball and opportunities to move the ball that 10 yards because most people are going to punt unless you're past the 50. So whereas Navy will pretty much run it every single time if they're past the 35-yard line. And so statistically, they're going to have an advantage and more opportunities than you are, even if you had the same number of series. So at the end of the day, you cannot make mistakes. And we did well. We were relatively mistake-free in the first half, and it showed in the scoreboard. But after that, we didn't lose in the turnover battle, but we tied in the turnover battle. And when you tie in the turnover battle against Navy, that's basically like giving them possessions back, and that's not good news for you.
Absolutely. Okay, where do we want to go from here? What's next, Roger? I'll let you control where we're going here. What are we going to talk about next?
I have a few more notes on the Navy game. The special teams part. We talked about this. I want to really hit this point, guys and gals. It's not a defensive loss. It's not an offensive loss. It's a team loss. We had mistakes in every single facet of the game, and I think the defense, because they could not get off of the field, they were just gassed towards the end of it, and you saw that with that 17-point difference. It was 17-0 in the end. The offense has to pick up and play mistake-free. They're capable of scoring on every single series. They showed that, but they made mistakes here and there that stalled drives. And then, obviously we can't give them turnovers back. I mean, a short field for Navy, on that blocked punt, that's terrible because it's basically like giving them an extra possession in the game because if they score, they're going to score quickly. And if they score quickly, you're basically increasing the number of possessions that they have and the ability to score. The other part about that, I don't know if you remember that muffed punt that went out and gave them field position late. That did not help us either. I think it shanked it right off of his right foot. And it went out somewhere around the 40 or the 50-yard line.
It was horrible. It was like 10 yards.
Yeah. And when you're thinking about that and you're talking about time that was left in the game, because I think it was 4 to 6 minutes somewhere left in the game at that point, that set them up with a short field to be able to score. And ultimately, again, that was a mistake that set them up to have points, touchdowns and points scored and put your defense right back out on the field in a disadvantageous position. They're not going to score fast. So if they have a limited amount of time and you're ahead, the more that you can do to put them further back on the field, it's going to take them longer to get across the field and potentially, even if you don't stop them, slow them down long enough for the game to expire because the clock's going to continuously run. Yeah. So that was another terrible mistake. So again, it's not when you lose a game, and this to me was proof positive. When you lose a game, especially against Navy, it's a series of mistakes that we made. It was not one particular thing at any given time. As far as Coach Malzahn is concerned, when we're talking about Coach and his decision to put Gatewood in on that last series or on that last set of downs, when we were close, we were in the red zone, ready to score, I would not have pulled and put Gatewood in there. Now, again, Andrew, and I think Coach Malzahn knows this well enough that I think there was a reason, and I agree with Andrew on this, that they pulled him out to put Gatewood in for that play. Either He wanted to get him ready for the next 3 downs because we knew we were going to have 3 downs to try to score, and we were pretty close to the end zone. And he wanted to give him some last-minute tips on what series he was going to play and, what to look out for in defenses and where he should go if this happens or that happens or otherwise. I think that may have been why, or there could be another reason. But ultimately, I agree. I think that was a tough call to make in that situation, but you have to trust Gus that he thinks that he can score in 3 attempts when you're within the red zone for the game.
Yeah,
so,
I think something was up there. There had to have been a reason to put Gatewood in that situation. That's what I think happened. I wish, like I said, that I could have seen the UCF sideline. I watch a lot of these things when I'm there in person, but I wasn't there in person. I actually will watch that kind of stuff, what goes on the sideline. What when people come off the sideline, do they go straight to the bench? Do they talk to the coach? Are they getting medical treatment? Whatever. I'm constantly watching that stuff when I'm there in person, but unfortunately couldn't see it in this one. But something had to be up in that situation personally.
Yeah, I agree with that. Johnny Richardson, in my opinion, actually looked really, really good. He did well with the touches that he had. Trillian Cole started out really well, but he started getting bottled up. I like the use of our speedsters in those reverses and things like that. I think they were trying to keep the defense from keying in on Mikey Keene. I think the offensive line did a great job protecting him. He had a lot of time in the pocket to be able to get rid of the ball. So that was a positive for the team as well. Extremely frustrating on the 3rd downs. I mean, that's something that needs to be fixed, both on offense and defense. We started off the year doing pretty well in the 60s on those first downs. Now, that's not an average, what most people would have, but when you're that far down on 3rd downs in the percentages, if you're in the low teens or low 20s on percentages for 3rd down, that's not going to win you a whole lot of football games unless you're throwing bombs around the yard.
And Gus mentions that in every press conference. That is the one thing that's keeping him up at night, is those 3rd down situations. He's talked about it every single one of them. So they need to figure that out, obviously.
Yeah, if a team's gonna the other part is if a team's gonna run for 406 yards on you, there's not very many times that you're going to be able to win. The time of possession on this was 39 minutes versus 20 minutes. I mean, that's a pretty significant difference in that. You're talking about almost 20 minutes worth of extra time that they had the ball, and our offense has shown that it can do a lot with 20 minutes of time in possession.
Hey, some interesting notes here real quick that I want to read. I was just reading while you were talking, I was reading through these, the notes that UCF, the game notes that they send out after the game, just like the ones that they send out before the game, but this has tidbits of stuff. Interesting stuff about Mikey Keene. I'm just going to read it. Mikey Keene earned his first career start being the 7th true freshman in UCF's FBS history to start at quarterback. Dylan Gabriel, Mackenzie Milton, Jeff Godfrey, Rob Calabrese, Kyle Israel, Stephen Moffitt. Mikey went 16 of 26 for 178 with 2 touchdown passes and 1 interception, all career highs, obviously. He became the 3rd UCF true freshman in the FBS era to throw for 2 touchdown passes in his first career start, joining Gabriel and Milton. His 178 passing yards were 3rd most among true freshmen in his first start, trailing Milton and Gabriel. So that's pretty interesting stuff right there.
And I think he would have had more had it not been for the time of possession.
Against Navy, for one.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So I think I'm really thinking that you're going to see a lot more from him next week, and I think you're going to see a lot more of what he actually brings to the table next week. So, the people that are down on, having to start the backup quarterback and all this stuff, I think honestly, he could be the guy that leads us into the Big 12 as well, if he sticks around for a couple of years here. So we all thought that possibly Gabriel would leave after this season and try to go to the NFL. Well, next in line, as far as we know, would be Mikey Keene. So this is great timing for him. I mean, it's obviously a bummer for Dylan Gabriel and a bummer that we don't have our starting quarterback, who is one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football, obviously. But if you had to have somebody coming in, you would want that to be your guy that, is going to lead us to the next summit of UCF football, on our journey to the Big 12 and to Power 5. So I'm happy that he's getting this experience. I wish that his first game would have turned out a little bit better than that, but it didn't. The football flops different ways. It's one of those things. It's an oblong ball and it doesn't always bounce your way.
Yeah, and it seems lately it hasn't been in the last few games.
Well, two games. We've only got 2 losses. We won 2 games handily. We can do more. It's not the end of the world here.
Well, the other thing that I was going to bring up, statistically, our yards per pass was down 2 yards per pass, and then our yards per carry was also down 2 yards. So you can obviously tell that makes a difference. That's
not bad though for the starters that we're missing, only being 2 yards down.
No, I agree. I mean, 5.1 yards per rush is still per carry is still, pretty solid numbers, and was better than Navy's, by the way, who's 4.6. They just used all 4 downs.
Right.
So, that's the difference there.
It messes up your stats, I can tell you that. Like this always messes up the stats. Anytime you play Navy, because we were doing so well against the run with defense, and now all of a sudden it doesn't look like we're doing that well. I think that's going to come back next week. This is it's such an anomaly of a game to play Navy. Anytime it just stat-wise, it messes things up. The way it looks messes things up, and the way the players feel after the game. They beat you to death out there, So I'm glad that we didn't come away with a bunch of injuries and crazy stuff. They cut block all the time too. It was one of the things that I was saying on Twitter
right at the beginning.
Yeah, but they don't get penalties for it most of the time, but they do it constantly. I've always said this: there's no dirtier of a team in college, and I like them because they're our servicemen. I'm not saying that, but the way that they play football is dirty. The cut blocking especially, you're really lucky when you come out of those games and a bunch of guys don't have knee problems.
Yeah, and Georgia Tech used to be the same way.
Any of the option teams do that. It's one of the ways that they get their blocks is by cut blocking, and it's dangerous, man. I mean, it is super dangerous for knees. So we're lucky.
And yeah, for real. And
there was also a face mask that I saw that did not get called. That would have given us a first down as well. That was a big play that the refs missed.
Yeah, I can't really complain about the referees this game. I think they did a fairly solid job of officiating. I will say that Mikey Keene, he was 16 of 27 or 59%. Alex Holler, who, we've been screaming about tight ends being able to catch. I don't know what happened with Jake Hescock. He's completely lost his ability to catch.
That's weird. But Holler didn't catch very well either. There were a couple of them that hit him right in the hands. The one hit him in the face.
Yeah, there were 3 of them that he missed. I mean, those were 3 drops right there. But he also had 5 catches. So
the one would have broken his nose if he wasn't wearing a football helmet, because it hit him right between the eyes and went right through his hands and hit him. Go watch the replay. Right through his hands and hit him right dead center between the eyes.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, right? He's, I believe, a freshman as well. So he still had 5 catches. So, all those years we've been screaming about not using tight ends, we're using them. We're just hoping they can catch the ball.
Exactly.
So, that was something that was interesting, and I wanted to point out because we hadn't been using the tight ends. But when we do that, it's causing our yards per catch to go down as well because they're basically safety valves for a very young quarterback, and that's unfortunately I don't know, Mikey Keene, and I'll ask you this: if
Alex,
this came
Alex
across,
Holler is a redshirt junior, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I messed that up.
Max Holler, which I would assume is his brother, is a redshirt freshman.
Got it. So that's who I was thinking of.
Alex is the redshirt junior, though.
All right. So I'm going to ask you this opinion. He has a heck of a windup, and there were guys that were jumping up and down. Some of those defensive backs had some hops, man. But that being said, he was throwing. I don't know if it seemed like it to you, but seemed to be a touch high on a lot of his passes. Did you get that feeling too?
Well, I mean, yeah, but that's all part of being a freshman in your very first game, So
yeah, I'm guessing he didn't get his feet set all the way that he wanted to when he was doing that. So it'll be interesting to see. But he's got a wind up on him, so it takes about a second for him to get the ball out. So that's one thing I did notice that was a difference between him and Dylan as well.
Yeah.
That's all I had for this segment of the show.
Okay. Well, let's what do you think about talking to Kyle Israel now? Let's take a break and we'll come back and do that.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else, New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
An auto accident can change your life forever. At Chad Barr Law, we are raising the bar on what to expect from your personal injury attorney. Hi, I'm Chad Barr, and I want you to know that our entire team is dedicated to providing you with the representation you deserve in your greatest time of need. If you or a loved one have been injured in an auto accident, call 407-599-9036 for a free consultation or visit chadbarlaw.com. At Chad Barr Law, our clients come to us in need and leave as family. Offices, Altamont Springs.
Looking for more out of your Porsche? Look no further than Flat6Motorsports.com. They have the widest selection of aftermarket Porsche parts anywhere in the world. With over 85 product lines and in-depth expertise, Flat6Motorsports.com is your one-stop shop for any Porsche performance needs. Whether you're shopping for intakes, exhausts, suspension, or tuning, they have you covered. Flat6Motorsports.com is the premier Porsche aftermarket specialist. Check them out at Flat6Motorsports.com. All right, joining us now, our good friend Kyle Israel. Kyle, not the result we were looking for. 30-34 loss to Navy. But we had a brand new true freshman starting quarterback. You've been in that situation before, being thrown in. I don't think it was against Navy, but what is that like as a brand spanking freshman, true freshman to go in, especially against a team like Navy? I mean, I consider Navy's stadium and Navy's field to be hallowed ground of college football. I think that would be kind of a big deal, and he handled it pretty well.
No, I agree. I was really pleased and happy for Mikey, and that is a big environment to step into. Not just because you're a freshman and it's being on the road and you're going against a Navy team that shortens the clock and makes it difficult for you to get possessions, but because you're coming in for a guy that's essentially been prolific for UCF from a statistical perspective in Dylan Gabriel, and so there's a level of expectation for scoring points. I think if there was anything that would be ideal, it would be to have a turnover by my defense and get, inside the 10-yard line for my first, true college start. And I was thinking during the game, that's got to be the first starting quarterback to ever throw a touchdown on his first play of his first start. But I think overall, Mikey did what he had to do. He put us in position to have a chance to win the game. He didn't do anything that was going to lose the game for us. And so I'm happy for him, and I'm confident that he can continue to improve. It certainly wasn't the quarterback position that resulted in the loss yesterday.
By the way, if the cops are chasing you, just pull over. I know that they're not, but it was funny. And that's what I was thinking advice. The entire time. I'm like, he's running. Now I know that you're on the highway and there's an accident and all that stuff. Yeah. So if we have more noise, it's all good. I mean, I think he did a pretty good job for, going in there and doing what he did. What did you think of his performance? I mean, I think he was very level-headed out there.
Yeah, he seemed poised and he seemed calm. I think at the same time, there's a few throws he'd like to have back. He had an opportunity to hit our tight end a few times, and he was off on some of those throws. But he seemed, overall confident. I think you see that, he can throw the football definitely. I thought we may see scenarios where you're using him in the running game more. But at the same time, you're missing your starting running back. You're missing your best wide receiver. So those are guys, if you're Mikey Keene, you'd like to have on the field alongside of you. But overall, I think that, you saying he was level-headed was probably a good illustration of what we got out of him yesterday. And it's not easy. I mean, it really is challenging. There's a lot of novelty in your first start, especially as a true freshman. I think Mikey's barely 18 years old. And there's a lot of just newness that you've kind of got to get through, from warm-ups to getting out there and running your first play and getting into the flow of the game. I think often those things are overlooked, and, those are real kind of little wins that you've got to stack along the way before you can even, try to lead your team to victory. And so I think he's obviously probably disappointed in the loss, but probably woke up today feeling pretty decent about how he performed in his first college start.
Yeah, people need to realize as well that he is super young, like you just pointed out, really, super young, really because young. He skipped, some high school to get here early as well. So, Roger, what do you got for Kyle?
Kyle, you're talking about, getting a young quarterback in rhythm and getting him some experience and all of that stuff. What do you think of Gus's use of Gatewood in certain situations? And do you think that helped or hurt him in any way?
Well, I thought that, the way we use Gatewood inside the 10-yard line, he was able to get a touchdown for us running the football. I like using him in those scenarios. I thought it was maybe questionable towards the end of the game. I think on the last drive he was in there, and he was able. I think he threw a ball away. I think my tendency as a coach would probably be to stick with Mikey there really late in the game. But I definitely liked how he used him, as a running threat in the red zone. And I think that at times he was just. He was a guy that we could get in there and hope that he could get us 4 to 6 yards. And he's a big dude, and can certainly move around and run the football. So I thought sprinkling him in was good. Maybe questionable in one of those last drives if it was not the last drive. That may have taken Mikey out of rhythm a little bit. But overall, I think you're just trying to get more from him in the running game with Isaiah Bauer out.
Yeah, I wondered. Bowser. I wondered if on that one that we're all talking about, we talked about that on the radio show as well. I'm wondering if that one there was something going on besides that. I couldn't see the sideline. They weren't showing that, our sideline on TV. I wish I would have been there so I could look to see, what Mikey Keene did when he went out. Like if Gus, needed to tell him something or he was seeing something he wanted him to see from the sideline or whatever, because that was a weird spot where he took him out.
I mean, Gatewood's the type of guy that, he can break a tackle or two and then has the type of athleticism and speed to break away and score a touchdown for you kind of at, from 20, 30, 40 plus yards out. I'm not sure either. Hard to analyze that. But, if Gus thought he had a play drawn up where he could have broke it or got a big chunk of yards, that's his prerogative. But it is hard to tell if there was something that he was trying to show Mikey or whatever the case was. But I think it's a little bit questionable. But at the same time, throughout the flow and course of the game, I thought I was okay with it.
Well, you're not the only one that is questioning a couple of things that happened yesterday. As far as the trick plays and stuff like that, I love that stuff. So I'm always happy to see, weirdness and coach, changing stuff up and running reverses. And there was one that didn't work out very well at all, obviously. But overall, even the Auburn fans, I've watched a lot of Twitter feeds, and this is what you're going to get with Coach Malzahn, blah, blah, blah. Overall, though, what do you think of the way that he is calling plays and the job that he's doing as far as that goes? Because we know it's going to be a little odd. It's going to be weird. It's what he does.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you're getting a clear picture of the way that Coach Malzahn intended to call plays throughout, going into the season. When you lose Bowser, you lose Dylan Gabriel, we lose Flash on the outside. We didn't have him yesterday. So you're trying to manufacture points. With Navy, you're only going to get 7 to 8, 9 possessions maybe in a game. All those possessions become very critical. And I don't think yesterday was a game that we should be evaluating play calling at all because of the circumstances. Coaches have to adjust, and that's part of being a coach, and you're paid a lot of money to do that.
And you don't go conservative against something like that either. When you're having trouble, you don't go conservative, and that's what people need to understand.
No, I mean, you definitely don't always just naturally go conservative. I think that, I think Mikey had 25 passes in the game. I would have been worried if he threw for more than that. It probably would have taken us totally out of the game plan that we had. And we were fortunate to get some short fields yesterday. I think a lot of yesterday's game comes down to special teams and defense more than offensive play calling, because he's got one arm tied behind his back when you're trying to put a game plan together, when you're undermanned to some extent from what you would typically have.
Yeah, 16 of 26 for 178 yards, 2 touchdowns, longest being 34 and an interception. So, yeah.
That's a good stat line. I mean, he threw an interception on the last play of the game. If you would have told Gus you'd get 16 of 26 for 187 and 2 touchdowns out of Mikey in that game.
Yeah.
Or 167, whatever it was.
178.
178.
I may have said 187.
I think you would have been happy that.
Yeah, absolutely.
1 plus 7 is 8. That's how I remember that.
Exactly. We saw Mackenzie Milton as a freshman in his first game have a complete breakdown. So I'm not saying he's going to be Mackenzie Milton by any means, but it wasn't a bad showing for his first timeout.
Yeah, I mean, when we're, Kyle, when I'm thinking about this and I'm thinking about his experience, I kept thinking to myself, he had so many opportunities to run, but I also know that Gus had kind of set up these sweeps and reverses and all these things to kind of take pressure off of him and then focusing the defense on him. Do you think that the reason do you think he was intentionally told not to run in those situations, or do you think he was just scanning the field? Because there were a few times he was locking out on receivers.
No, I don't. I can't imagine a coach telling a guy to not intentionally run if he had the opportunity to do so. I think that it could be a number. It really could be a number of things. Obviously, when there's a lot of novelty, when you're playing the game for your first time. Bethune-Cookman, I don't think gave him a indication of what Division I speed looks like in the reps that he got in that game, and I think that you're just adjusting, and so sometimes things can be flying around, and you tend to just think of, okay, this is my intended target, kind of pre-snap, and that's who I'm going to look for, and you even forget to run sometimes. So I don't know that they were coaching him to not run the football if he had opportunities, because you have Gatewood, you have Quadri Jones behind him. So you're not trying to completely avoid injury by telling Mikey not to run the football. But I think with time, with even going back and watching this film, he'll see a ton of things today and tomorrow that he'll feel like he can get better at. Maybe things that aren't visible to the naked eye for us. But I expect to see Mike Keene just continuing to improve week in and week out, and that's just the nature of the beast with somebody that's young. But yeah, you said it, Andrew. Going back to Mackenzie Milton's first season, there were games where people weren't thrilled with his performance, and it does take time to adjust and get up to speed.
They booed him off the field in the bowl game. Remember that?
Yep.
I'll never forget that, especially with the way that his career turned out at UCF. All right, 7 people ran the ball yesterday for UCF. 148 is what we came out with. 2 rushing touchdowns. 1 rushing touchdown by a receiver. And then one of the other rushing things was by a kicker, which is pretty odd as well. What did you think of that the fake field goal thing? I like it personally.
Yeah, I do too. I think that, sometimes you got to find ways to manufacture points in games. If he felt like Navy was, certainly not expecting or anticipating that, I thought it was a great play call. When those things don't work, you get a lot of questions around them. But because it did, I'm cool with it. I think that teams that have wrinkles in the bag that they can pull out are always stay pretty dangerous. And I'm cool with Coach Malzahn, sprinkling some of those things in.
I hope we see that play again, and I hope it works a little bit better than it did. But, I mean, Orbowski ran pretty good. I was proud of him. I was screaming and yelling in my living room like, oh, my God, do it. I thought he was going to do it.
Well, if that one block had been completed, then he would have done it. So he was doing pretty good. It surprised the holy heck out of me, too, because I thought for sure they were going to kick there. That being said, he did get his first kick of this year, and our first attempt was 1 for 1. One of the other things that I noticed is we have a lot of third downs and long where we're trying to play short field or just beyond the line of scrimmage. And trying to make something happen from there. I think we did it enough in the first 2 games that people are playing up against it. Why do you think Gus is trying to do that? Is he just truly trying to fool the defense?
I don't know that it's trying to fool the defense. We get in those third and long situations, and if you don't, defenses start to really force you to just check it down. And when it's 3rd and 12, 3rd and 13, 3rd and 17, 3rd and 14, defenses are going to do one of 2 things: bring pressure and force you to get the ball out of your hand, or drop back into coverage. And when you drop back into coverage, there's really not much a quarterback is able to do other than check it down. Some of those look somewhat designed. So I don't know the offense well enough to understand what the progression is to get to like a running back or a wide receiver. But it is a bit frustrating, I got to be honest. You'd want to see us take some shots down the field, but we've got to do a better job of first and second down so that we don't get into these third and longs. And I felt like I was turning around and seeing a lot of, even when Dylan was playing, we had a lot of situations when we're in third and long. And so we just got to be ultimately more efficient on first and second down. But hard to analyze from an armchair quarterback perspective, the theory of mind behind those play calls and what we're trying to do there. But it is very, very challenging when you get in third and long and defenses are playing soft. I always wanted a team to blitz because that means I typically had somebody one-on-one either in the slot or outside, and all they had to do was break a tackle and they could get a long first down. I hated when guys dropped into coverage, especially if there was some type of spy on me, because it was just very challenging to find a way to find a spot on the field to throw the football. I think it's a combination of all those things. Ultimately, we got to do better on first and second down and make third down more manageable.
All right, speaking of defense, Bryson Armstrong, transfer from Kennesaw State, I think is where he came from, had an incredible game the other day, 22 tackles total for him, which is 1 or 2 off of the record for UCF in a single game. What did you think about him, and what do we need to fix going into the ECU game this week for the defense?
I have no idea. I'm just throwing what I saw on the field Saturday away from a defensive perspective because Navy's offense is so unique. I don't even think it's fair to evaluate them as an 0-3 football team because they hadn't had their starting quarterback all season. They came in bringing their number one quarterback back into the lineup. We come in with a backup. We kind of flip-flopped. So it's really hard to evaluate teams when they, especially defenses, when they face a team that runs the option because it's basically the worst thing to ever watch or play against. I guarantee you our defense feels like they got hit by a car today.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of the beast. They were in a 12-round boxing fight yesterday. That's what it's going to feel like when you play Navy. I think Armstrong was obviously a guy that our coaching staff, had as a certain key, that ended up getting the football a lot, whether he was taking the running back or the quarterback when they would run that triple option. Those are the stack games where defensive guys do get tons of tackles like that because, there's not a lot of opportunity for interior linemen or interior linebackers to scrape the edge. When you're playing Navy, it's such a assignment-based game because that's the only way you can stop something like that. And so Armstrong just happened to be the guy on the outside, really in that perfect position to always be in position to be forced to make the tackle. I'm glad that he made 22 of those tackles because had he not, the game could have got ugly. But he was the guy that our coaching staff felt comfortable playing on the exterior where he was going to have to make some open field tackles. I think I remember certain points of the game and you just look at Big Cat during the game and he's just totally out of it, right? Like, so we have our best defensive player arguably on the edge. He can't be an impact player in a game like Navy because he's just playing assignment football. There's no upfield rush to try and sack the passer. There's no putting pressure on the quarterback in the passing game. Navy neutralizes athleticism because of the styles that they play, and that's what they're trying to do by running that type of offense. They know that they can't recruit the best athletes in the country, and so they have to neutralize athleticism, and you could just see it. I think not that Big Cat was a big reason that we lost or anything like that. I just recognized often that like he was a middle man where he just couldn't, use his ability to impact the game. And so I think I don't know what to say about our defense going into next week other than I just hope that they can, get healthy, feel better, get over the bumps and bruises, and mentally make the shift because East Carolina is going to come in with a good quarterback, one of the better wide receivers in the country, and they're going to have to play a really good football game to beat East Carolina. I thought, if there was a game that we really wanted to start a true freshman quarterback, it would be against Navy because of their typical lack of, firepower and scoring ability. And they gave us the ball inside the red zone twice. So it's just I don't take anything from that game. I just think it's too difficult when you face an offense like that.
Yeah, when I was saying it on the radio show, when Navy plays and does what they're supposed to do, when they're doing what they do it well, you're not going to beat them. I mean, it's one of the hardest things to defend. You would think it's just stopping the run. Well, that's a lot of run to stop, and it takes a toll on the defense. So I don't think people understand that.
I think yesterday was a perfect example of how it takes a toll, right? They were basically out of that football game all the way, in the first quarter, first half. Obviously, we gave them a blocked punt there that went for a touchdown. But you could just see how they literally wore us out. You saw on TV the commentators, put a view of our defensive line with the hands on the hips and them just exhausted. That's what it looks like when you wear a team out through the course of the game. You start to be able to do whatever you want. And they know they've got to capitalize on the last 2 or 3 drives and games. And They were able to wear us out enough to do that.
Yeah, they did what Navy does perfectly yesterday, and they hadn't done it all year. So it was a big deal for them, and I'm glad for them getting their stuff together, and hopefully they'll have a great season because they are our service members, and we appreciate them. Yeah. But,
of course,
obviously we need to do a little bit better. Looking towards this next week, what do you want to see from our offense? Since we can't really talk about the defense as much, what would you like to see from our offense going into next week? Because we're not probably going to have Bowser, and obviously we're going to have Keen again. So what would you like to see them do this next week?
I'd like to see us get Mikey on the run a little bit more on the edge in the passing game. I think that's important because he does have athletic ability and he's able to run the football. And I'd like to see us take some shots. You're obviously getting him comfortable, getting his legs underneath him. But we can't allow defenses to bring pressure and or play man coverage. And we're not going to be a dominant running game with where we currently are. So I think on first and second down, although you've got to be efficient, I'd say that's the first thing. Be really efficient on first and second down. Get into 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3. That may be boring, but we've got to do that to keep consistency in drives. Secondly, I'll go back to find 4 or 5 plays throughout the course of the game to take some shots down the field. Obviously, we didn't this game, have Flash, who's our fastest player, one of the faster players in college football, who is a deep threat. I hope to see him back on the field. But I think right now, you just can't overthink it. Be very efficient first and second down, allow Mikey to use his legs and get on the run, and continue to use the tight end. Tight end is the best friend for young quarterbacks. Number one, because they typically always start out in your vision. And number two, they're generally a little bit more athletic than linebackers, especially in the American Conference at this level. And so I think we need to keep finding ways to get the ball to our tight ends. And there were times yesterday where even on the last drive, if we were a little bit more accurate, we hit our tight end, we have a first down, we're moving the ball. So first and second down, continue to feed the tight ends and allow Mikey to have some run throw options on the outside. Other than that, I think we're going to have to continue to see what he's able to do so that we could justify making a statement about how our offense should be run.
All right, man. Hey, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Get where you're going safely, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good, guys.
If you haven't figured it out yet, I love Tijuana Flats. I would love them even if they weren't a partner with us on the Knightline Sports Network. They have all kinds of great Tex-Mex food, and it's fresh, by the way. Made to order burritos, tacos, enchiladas, chimichangas, quesadillas, bowls, nachos, and taco salads. And if you haven't tried the queso, you are completely missing out. It is the best queso that I've ever had in my life. Absolutely hands down. And the sauce bar that they have, everything from wild to mild in there. Absolutely awesome, awesome stuff. Not only do I love the food at Tijuana Flats, but I love the company, a UCF-born company. And they give back to the community with the Justin Queso Foundation. So head to your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. Hey Jeep Wrangler owners, have you ever sat in your office at work and watched the rain just pour into your Jeep because the weatherman said that there was a 0 chance of rain? Or you put your doors back on because there was a 100% chance and then not a drop of rain fell? Well, there's a company out there that can help take the worry away and give you the peace of mind to be without your doors. The company's called Life Without Doors. They make waterproof rain curtains and dash covers for Wranglers. Life Without Doors is there to help make the decision to leave the doors at home an easy one. Find out more at lifewithoutdoors.com.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
All right, now is a good time to start looking at ECU for next week. Glad to have a home game again. Glad to get out there and party with all y'all folks. If you want to come and talk to us, come to the softball lot. We'll be tailgating there. Look for the old school bus that is painted black and has Knight stuff all over it and an RV sitting right next to it. That will be our spot. Yeah, come hang out with us. All right. Looking forward to ECU next week. Roger, what are the things that you're looking for to see next week from UCF?
Well, a few things. ECU just dropped 52 on Tulane, which was crazy because they're a relatively good team, and they were expected to do well in the AAC this year. And they have by and large, but it was an explosion of offense. Let's just put it that way. By ECU, they've got a very experienced quarterback in Holden Ahlers. I don't know if you remember this, but when he first came out, he was a highly rated quarterback. And when he came to ECU, he was the talk of college football there for a little while. So for Holden Ahlers this year, he's someone to look at. He's got 1,266 yards through the air. He's throwing at about a 59% completion percentage. But the big thing that he has that's going to be something to watch for us is the ability to run, and he's a giant quarterback. He's like 6'5", 240 pounds or something like that.
Should be a senior this year, I think.
Yep. And he's pretty fleet on his feet. In addition to that, sharing the backfield with him is a running back that last week had 222 yards. And so his name is Keaton Mitchell. He's got over 574 yards for the season on 60 carries. Now, if you can do the quick math, that means he's averaging over 9 yards per carry. So that's a pretty dangerous quarterback. They've also got another player named Snead, who's their wide receiver, their lead wide receiver. He's hurt us a few times the last couple of games. Obviously, we came out big on those, but this is a different season with a freshman quarterback, right? So hopefully Mikey Keene can perform. But I'm really concerned defensively on having that combo back there of the QB who has a big arm and, he's relatively accurate at 60%, but also can run. He runs around the edge. You're not going to arm tackle him. He's someone that you're going to have to really be able to lean into. So that means everybody's going to have to be disciplined. I'm hoping that our defensive line can get pressure, because if they can get pressure either on the edges and in the middle, they are a team that, does not get the ball out quickly. And if they're going to run and they're going to run to the edges, we need to make sure that we are, because the quarterback will roll out. And when they roll out, that takes a while for them to do that. So we need to make sure that we're keeping our gap control, and more importantly, our keys and assignments, right? So if you've got someone who's going to go to the outside and you've got a hard-hitting back that's going to go to the inside, I'm fairly confident in our interior line to be able to handle that. But I am concerned again about the edges, and I've been saying that all season. It'll be another issue for us when we go with Cincinnati. But if he has the ability to roll out, or somebody doesn't tackle him, or we take a bad angle, he's going to make us pay, because once he gets rolling, it's going to be really, really hard to take him down.
Yeah. I don't know if Tulane is a good judge. That they're really not that good this year. They've won one game, and that's against Morgan State. They've had a tough schedule, though. They played OU in that first game, lost 40-35. They played Mississippi Ole Miss, lost 61-21. UAB they lost to 28-21, and then now ECU they've lost to 52-29. So
Right.
OU put up 40 points on a Mississippi. Ole Miss put up 61, and then ECU put up 52. So I don't know if
I think, the matchup predictor, as you like to talk about all the time, has us winning at 80.9%.
And we're a 10-point favorite right now.
Yeah. We
were 10.5. I don't know what changed in that, but we'll see how that goes. We've faced Holton Ahlers a few times. I think the first game that he played at UCF a few years ago, wasn't that the one where he got knocked out of the game completely? The first time?
I don't think it was the
I think it was.
Was it the first game? You may be right.
I don't know if it was his first game or whatever, but I remember an ECU quarterback a couple of years ago, like in the first 3 or 4 plays or something like that. It was a few years ago, though, getting like completely knocked out of the game. So I thought it was him, but it could have been the guy before him. I don't remember. But anyway, they've always kind of been a problem. ECU, a thorn in our side over the years. But we've done pretty well with them the last few years. So hopefully we can keep that streak going.
Yeah, for sure. And they were, traditionally when we were in Conference USA, they were a rivalry game. They were one of those teams, and we've flipped the overall series now and lead the series, whereas before that wasn't the case. We played them going all the way back, I think, to our Division II games in various games over the years. So hopefully we keep that going. I think Hale Perryman, killed
that
killed
was
ECU.
One of those ECU games, exactly.
Ever since then, we haven't looked back. So, they always play us tough, though. So hopefully it continues, and I guess that'll get us ready for our hot take of the week.
Absolutely. Here we go. Welcome to the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. Visit TijuanaFlats.com for takeout or delivery, or visit your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. All right, the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week has turned into our score prediction take of the week.
Last week it was definitely a hot take because we flamed out on that one.
None of us were right in that one, but that's what happens when we're all homers and we go with UCF every week. But
I was slightly less of a homer than you guys last week, though.
Okay. Tijuana Flats, by the way, has chicken wings now, and they're really good. Believe it or not, Tijuana Flats, chicken wings. But it makes sense because all those hot sauces and stuff that they have on that hot sauce bar, they're throwing that stuff on chicken wings. The garlic parmesan ones that they have are awesome, by the way. You can get them in all kinds of different flavors. I didn't think at first when they came out with the hot wings, I'm like, a Mexican place getting hot wings? But then you had to think about the sauces. They have all that stuff. So they're awesome. Go check them out, by the way, if you have a chance. The guys that are getting the Tijuana Flats the Flats cash this week, go buy some wings with those and check them out and let us know how they were. All right, so like I said, this has turned into our score prediction segment. I'm going to let you go first, Roger. What do you think we're going to do against ECU?
Okay, so I'm going to agree that we're going to win, but I'm going to go out in hot take fashion because ECU, for some reason, has always been a bugaboo for us. And with us having so many starters out, and I don't know how many of those folks will be back next game, but with having that many starters out, and again, a young freshman quarterback, I'm predicting that he will get his first win, but with a 38-36 victory over ECU.
2-point victory. That's weird.
Yes.
Okay, 2 points. Is that 2 points like a safety or something like that?
No.
It's just going to work out like that.
Yeah, it's just going to work out that way. Like, it may not be exactly 2 points, but I think it's going to be a close game. Think it'll be, unfortunately, I think it'll be a close game, just simply because I know you don't, I know you don't necessarily agree with me that Holt Nailers is going to be a problem, but I feel like Holt Nailers is going to be a problem when combined with a running back that's already run for almost 600 yards this season.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that. Yeah. I mean, we've dealt with him before, though. So if they watch tape and how we dealt with him before, we should be able to handle him. And we've done fairly well against the run so far, except for last week, which doesn't really count. So
right.
I'm going to say that we've got a bunch of pissed off football players and a bunch of pissed off coaches. So I think personally we're going to put a 50 on them. I think we're going to go as hard as we can against these guys and try to make a little bit of a statement. We're going to go 50-28 UCF. I think they're definitely going to score some points. But historically, we've done pretty well in the last few years against ECU. So 50-28 UCF is my call. We shall see, I guess.
I hope you're right, because that's going to make the game experience a lot more fun for me sitting in the stands next week.
Exactly. And hopefully there's not like a rain delay or any of this crap.
Don't even speak that into existence, please.
Knock on wood that there's not. Okay. All right, news and notes is next.
I'm Jeff Allen. Join me each and every week on the Knightline Sports Network for the AAC Report. We bring you in-depth coverage of each school in football, basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, golf, tennis, and more, as well as bring you insider interviews and focus in on the biggest games and news of the week. That's all right here each week on the AAC Report, only on the Knightline Sports Network.
Welcome. This is a promo for the Take a Left at Albuquerque podcast, new to the Knightline Sports Network. You should listen to it. I say things like this.
We need to stop blaming Jerry because we would do the exact same thing if we owned the Dallas freaking Cowboys. Do you know how much fun it is to own the Dallas Cowboys?
My guests will say things sometimes like this.
It's the Lord of the Flies thing that happens when they don't understand that things are wrong. Spoiler alert, until Piggy dies.
Lord of the Flies has been out for like 100 years. I don't even know.
Yeah. Sorry to everyone at home who I spoiled the book for. A book's been out for like 90 years or something.
And sometimes, rarely though, I'll say really stupid things like this. If they don't make it out of the West and the Raptors get to the finals, I will go on either this show or whoever's show and say that Kawhi Leonard is overrated because I have too much evidence of it. New episodes drop every Friday with me and some of my good friends right here on the Knightline Sports Network.
And now, news and notes from the world of UCF sports. All right, UCF women's soccer played number 11 SMU and tied 1-1. They are now 5-4-1 on the season.
UCF volleyball is currently 10-5 and undefeated in conference play after defeating ECU and Cincinnati 3-0 and Wichita State 3-2.
All right, UCF men's soccer is also undefeated, is 5-3 and undefeated in conference play after defeating Memphis and Temple 4-1. And the Cows 3-2 to earn points in the war on I-4. I actually watched that the other night. It was on ESPN Plus, which everyone knows that I love ESPN Plus because you can see all this crazy stuff that you normally don't get to see. So it's nice to be able to see stuff like that on TV, for sure. All right, that's going to do it for us. This has been Knightline 264. I'm Andrew Phegley.
And I'm Roger Phipps. Go Knights!
Charge on.
UCF, charge on to the field. With our spirits, we'll never yield. Black and gold charge right through the line. Victory is our cry. BSETORY.